I have lived a very long life. Hard one. Quiet one. And today I'm going to tell you a story, the story of how I was laughed at, and how I smiled back with power they never saw coming. Let me start by telling you who I am. My name is Martha, and I am 64 years old. It was supposed to be a celebration. That's what they said. My daughter Hannah had just given birth to a baby girl, my first grandchild. I had been waiting for that moment for years. Holding her in my arms made all the pain in my heart fade. Just for a second. Then Daniel's family invited me to dinner. They called it a celebration dinner. I didn't want to go at first. Something in my heart said no. But I also knew I had to go. I had something they didn't know about. Truth. Secret. So I said yes. That evening I wore my best dress. It was blue with small yellow flowers. The cloth was old, but I washed and ironed it until it looked new. There was a small tear at the shoulder. I sewed it carefully with thread that almost matched. I looked in the mirror and said to myself, "Martha, you are strong. You are not small." I walked into the mansion and felt small anyway. The house was huge. White pillars. Big glass doors. A garden that looked like it came out of a magazine. Everything smelled of money. Daniel's mother greeted me at the door. She was wearing a diamond necklace that could pay for my sewing shop 3 times over. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You look colorful," she said. I smiled and said, "Thank you." Inside, the dining room was already full. Daniel's father, his brothers, a few cousins, and even their driver were there. Everyone wore something black or gold. I looked like a walking flower bush. But I sat down quietly and kept smiling. Hannah came in last. My daughter. She used to run to me and hug me. Now she barely looked at me. She was wearing red lipstick and huge gold earrings. She used to hate huge jewelry. But I guess things change. Dinner was served. Dishes I couldn't pronounce. Fish with no bones. Chicken rolled in green leaves. Soup that was cold on purpose. I ate small bites and kept smiling. Then it happened. Daniel stood up and raised his glass. Everyone looked at him. He smiled that smile I hated, the one that never reached his heart. "Cheers," he said. "Cheers to us, the proud Jameson family. And cheers to my dear mother-in-law, who gave her whole life working hard, fighting, sewing, only to end up sitting at a table where she clearly doesn't belong." People chuckled. He looked straight at me. "How does it feel to be a loser?" he asked. I felt my chest grow tight. My hand shook just a little. My fork hit the plate softly. I looked around. His mother was hiding her laugh with her napkin. His father smirked. My own daughter lowered her eyes and sipped her wine. Not a single person said a word in my defense. I took a deep breath. My ears were hot, but I stayed calm. Then I smiled. And I asked softly, "Daniel, do you know who owns this house?" The whole table went quiet. Daniel frowned. "What kind of question is that?" he asked. "My father owns this house." I leaned forward, still smiling. "No," I said. "I bought it last week." Everyone froze. Silence. Cold and heavy silence. You could hear the fork drop from someone's hand. Daniel's mother gasped. Daniel stared at me like I had just grown wings. I sat back in my chair and took a slow sip of water. No one moved. I looked around the room and saw their faces changing. Confusion. Fear. Anger. But I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Daniel tried to laugh. "That's a joke, right?" he said. "You bought this house. With what money?" "Your sewing machine." I didn't answer. I just reached into my bag and pulled out a small white envelope. I slid it across the table toward him. It had the deed inside, with my name on it. Daniel didn't open it. He just looked at it, then looked at me. "You're lying," he said. "No, Daniel," I said softly. "I just stopped talking long enough for you to believe your own lie." I turned to look at Hannah. She was pale. Her eyes were wide. And in that moment, I saw the little girl I once raised. The one who used to sleep on my chest when the roof leaked. The one who I fed with dry Gary and tears when the money ran out. The one I walked miles for. Just to buy used school shoes. She looked at me like she didn't know who I was. And maybe she didn't. Because the woman sitting in that chair, wearing a patched-up dress and a calm smile, wasn't the same poor widow who begged for their respect. No. She was something else now. She was powerful. She was ready. And this dinner. This was just the beginning. You see me now, sitting at that dinner table, calm and quiet, holding power they didn't expect. But it wasn't always like this. There was a time I didn't have anything. Not even hope. After my husband died, I didn't cry. Not at first. I was too shocked. One moment he was driving home from work. The next, there was a knock on the door and two men telling me he had crashed into a tree and died instantly. He was all I had. His name was Peter. We were poor but we were happy. He made jokes. He liked roasted corn. He rubbed my back when I couldn't sleep. When he died, I became two people, a mother and a father, a protector and a provider. I didn't know how to do it, but I knew I had to. Hannah was only 7 years old. I remember her small fingers tugging on my wrapper that day. "Where's Daddy?" she asked. I didn't answer. I just held her. That was the day I promised to give her a better life. I started sewing more clothes. At first, I only knew how to fix small things, zippers, buttons, hems. But then I started learning how to make full dresses. I worked late into the night. My fingers bled sometimes. My back ached. But I kept going. People paid very little, but it was something. Sometimes I didn't eat. I lied to Hannah and told her I already had food. I gave her the last piece of yam. I drank water and smiled through my hunger. When she needed school books, I sold my wedding ring. When her school fees were due, I sold my ancestral land. When she needed shoes, I walked barefoot so she wouldn't have to. There was one time I fell sick. Fever, coughing, cold. But I still sat at my sewing table with sweat on my forehead and a blanket wrapped around my shoulders. I stitched a customer's dress while praying I wouldn't faint. But you know what? It was worth it. 'Cause Hannah grew up well. She was smart. She passed her exams. She got into the university. I still remember that day. The day she received her acceptance letter. She screamed and jumped on the bed. Cried like a baby. We had no money for the fees. But I didn't care. I went to the market and sold all my extra clothes. Then I went from house to house, begging rich women to let me sew for them. Some slammed the door in my face. Some shouted at me, but one old woman said yes. That one job paid the first part of Hannah's school fees. I kept sewing and saving. I didn't buy anything for myself. No new clothes, no new pots, nothing. Every cent he made went into her schooling. Then she graduated. Oh, I was so proud. I wore my best wrapper and sat at the back of the graduation hall. I clapped so hard my hands hurt. That day she hugged me tight and whispered, "Mummy, I'll take care of you now." I believed her. But I didn't know that the world was about to change. She got a job in the city. She met Daniel soon after. I heard about him first through a phone call. "He's rich, Mum," she said. "Very rich. He works in a bank. His family owns land, houses, everything." I smiled, but something inside me felt tight. Money is not everything. I tried to ask questions, but she brushed them off. "Mum, you don't understand. He's modern. You still live like it's 1960. That one stung. Still, when they got married, I gave my blessings. I didn't have much, but I gave her a golden necklace that used to belong to my grandmother. I told her it was for protection. She smiled and said thank you, but I don't know if she meant it. After the wedding, she changed. She stopped calling me Mummy. She started calling me Ma. When I called her, Daniel answered the phone more often than she did. He'd say, "She's busy," and hang up. Sometimes I would go weeks without hearing her voice. And when she did come home to visit, she was different. Her nails were long. Her clothes were expensive. Her laugh was fake. And she always came with Daniel, who would sit in my small living room, look around and say things like, "Your curtain is so vintage." Or, "Wow, people still use gas stoves this small." He would laugh. She would giggle. And I would sit there and smile, but inside I was breaking. Once I made a big pot of vegetable soup, her favorite. She tasted it and said, too much oil. Daniel doesn't like oily food. They left half the food untouched. I went into the kitchen and cried into a napkin. One time I asked her if she could help me fix the leaking roof. She promised she would send some money. Weeks passed, then months, no money, and no explanation. So I climbed up and fixed it myself, with a metal sheet I found behind the shop. And yet I never stopped loving her. I never stopped praying for her. Because no matter how far she drifted, she was still my baby, my blood, my reason for living. But sometimes love hurts more than hate. That's when I started to feel something else grow inside me. Not anger. Not revenge. Just something cold and quiet. I didn't say anything. But I started thinking, if my own daughter could forget me, if Daniel could laugh at me, then maybe it was time I stopped being the woman they expected. Maybe it was time I became the woman they never saw coming. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped talking too much after that. Stopped calling. Stopped begging. Stopped asking Hannah for anything. But I never stopped thinking. I told myself, Martha, if they won't see your worth, build it quietly until they can't ignore it. So I did. I kept sewing during the day. But at night I started reading. I borrowed books. I watched free videos online with my small phone. I learned about money, land, and property. I learned how rich people stay rich, and how poor people stay poor. I realized something. Being rich is not always about how much you earn. Sometimes it's about how well you grow what little you have. So I joined a group in my church. It was called Widows Who Rise. We were all women who had lost our husbands. We met every Saturday, prayed together, and shared ideas. One Saturday, a woman named Sister Grace spoke about how she bought a small house and now made money every month from the rent. My ears opened like never before. After that meeting, I walked up to her. Sister Grace, I said, please teach me. And she did. That was the beginning of my quiet rise. I sold the last of my old fabrics. Then I took a small loan from the widows group. Just enough to start. I bought a small one-room shop. It was dirty and had no roof, but it was cheap. I fixed it with my own hands. Then I rented it out to a fruit seller. Every month, she paid me $300. It wasn't much, but it was a start. After a year, I saved enough to buy another small shop. Then a room. Then a house. I didn't buy flashy things. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Hannah. I still wore the same old wrappers. I still cooked with my old pots. But inside I was changing. One day, while scrolling through my phone, I saw a message from a man named Robert. He had joined a Christian widow/widower group online. He lived in another town. He was quiet, kind. He said his wife had died 10 years ago and he had never remarried. First I didn't answer. I didn't trust strangers. But one day I was tired and lonely and I replied, hello. That small hello changed my life. Robert was patient. We talked about God, about books, about our children. He made me laugh again. He told me I was smart, not just strong. That I could do more with my life. That I deserved love again. Scared me. I hadn't felt loved in so long. But slowly I opened my heart. He visited. We met. He was real. He was not loud or rich like Daniel. But he was gentle, wise, and kind. He told me he used to be a banker before he retired. And that he now helped people grow their money. I told him about my 2 shops and 1 rental house. He smiled and said, you're already a businesswoman, Martha. Let me help you grow bigger. We started working together, quietly. He showed me how to flip houses. We bought broken houses, fixed them and sold them. Then used the profit to buy 2 more. Slowly, carefully. In 2 years I had 7 properties. Each one bringing me money every month. And nobody knew. Not Hannah. Not Daniel. Not even my neighbors. I still lived in my small flat. Still used my same old gas stove. Still bought second-hand clothes. Why? Because I was building something deeper than wealth. I was building silence. Silence they would never see coming. One evening, Robert and I sat under the mango tree behind my house. "You should tell your daughter," he said. "Show her how powerful you've become." I shook my head. She never asked. She never cared. If I tell her now, it will look like I'm begging for respect. He looked at me and nodded. "Then wait, until the day she begs you for forgiveness." That day came sooner than I thought. One morning, Robert came rushing to my house with a newspaper in his hand. Daniel's father's face was on the front page. "Jameson Group declared bankrupt," the title said. I read every word slowly. Their businesses had fallen. They owed money to the government. The bank had seized many of their properties. Robert said, "Martha, check if their mansion is up for sale. You never know." I laughed at first. That house. It's like a palace. Even if it's for sale, the price will be too high. But I checked anyway. And guess what? The house had been secretly listed by a holding company to avoid scandal. It was being sold quietly. Cheaply. They were desperate for money. I looked at the address again. It was Daniel's house. The very one I used to feel small in. My hands trembled. But not from fear. From power. "I'm buying it," I told Robert. He smiled and said, "Let's do it." We paid in cash. No loans. No delay. Within 2 weeks, I had the documents in my hands. Martha O. Benson, owner of 47 Palm Court Mansion. I sat on my bed for a long time, holding the paper. Cried. Not because I was happy, but because I remembered every day I walked barefoot. Every night I sewed until my eyes burned. Every moment I ate water and air while Hannah went to school. This was not revenge. This was reward. But I wasn't done yet. I got a call from Hannah the next week. "Mom, we want to have a dinner for the baby. Please come. It's at the house." Smiled. They didn't know. They had no idea. But they were about to find out. So there I was, sitting at that long dinner table inside the house I now owned. And no one knew. Not Daniel. Not his proud mother. Not even my own daughter. They served fancy food and looked down on me like I was a stray cat they had let inside for one night. Daniel stood, raised his glass, and mocked me in front of everyone. Cheers to my dear mother-in-law, who fought so hard to give her daughter a better life, yet still ended up alone, broke and forgotten. How does it feel to be a loser? Everyone laughed. Even my daughter kept her eyes on her glass and said nothing. That laugh burned something inside me. But I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just smiled. And I asked him, "Daniel, do you know who owns this house?" The room went quiet. He looked confused. "My father," he said with a shrug. Still smiling, I leaned forward and said, "No. I bought it last week." The air turned cold. No one moved. No one breathed. Then, as if on cue, I reached into my handbag and pulled out an envelope. A crisp white envelope with gold trim. I slid it across the table, slow and calm, like a queen delivering judgment. "This is the deed," I said. "You can open it." Daniel stared at it like it was poison. His father stood. "What is this nonsense?" His mother scoffed. "You buy this house. With what money? Old wrappers and dry akara." Chuckled. Robert always said, "When pride is loud, silence hits the hardest." I turned to Hannah. "I didn't come here for food or your laughter. I came here because you needed to know the truth." Daniel pushed back his chair. "This is fake. A scam." "It's real," I said softly. "The documents are with the land registry. I used cash. No debt. No loan. Your family's holding company needed money, remember? They listed the mansion secretly. I bought it quietly. That's how real wealth moves." Daniel's face turned red. He looked at Hannah like she had betrayed him. "I didn't know," she said, panicked. His father shouted, "You have no right." I slowly stood up. "I have every right. I am the owner of this house. I am your landlord now." Gasps filled the room. I reached into my bag again and pulled out one more envelope. This one thinner. "Here," I said. Your eviction notice. 30 days. Daniel grabbed it and tore it open with shaky hands. His eyes scanned the paper fast. Then he slammed it down on the table. You can't do this. I have a baby. This is our home. I looked at Hannah. You have a choice, I said gently. You can stay. I won't throw you out. But he has to go. And if you want to follow him, then go. Tears filled her eyes. You're my mother, she whispered. Why would you do this? I swallowed my own pain. No, I said. The question is, why did you let him do this to me? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. You forgot everything I gave you, I continued. Everything I gave up. You let this man insult me, mock me, treat me like a beggar, and you said nothing. I'm sorry, she said in a whisper. He nodded. But sorry doesn't wipe shame. And love without respect is nothing. Daniel yelled. You're heartless. What kind of mother would do this? I turned to him, the boy who thought wealth made him untouchable. The kind of mother who stopped begging for crumbs. The kind who built her own table. Daniel cursed and stormed out. His parents followed behind, muttering insults. The others, cousins, siblings, guests, they left quietly, not even looking me in the eye. Soon the dining room was almost empty. Just me and Hannah. She stood there crying, holding her baby. I don't know what to do, she whispered. I walked to her and placed my hand on her cheek. Come home, I said softly. You don't need marble floors to raise a child. You need love. And truth. She nodded slowly. I'm so ashamed, she said. You're still my daughter, I said. But I had to teach you this lesson. Respect is earned, even from a child. She hugged me. We stood there for a long time, her baby sleeping on her shoulder. And that's when I knew. I didn't lose her. I just reminded her who I was. It's been 6 months. Daniel is gone. I heard he sleeps on his friend's couch, jumping from one job to another. His pride broke faster than his bank account. Hannah lives with me now. She cooks, she laughs again, and she helps me manage the properties. Robert and I are happy. We travel sometimes. We give to charity. We're not loud. We don't need to be. Power doesn't shout. It whispers. And me. I still sew sometimes. Not because I need the money, but because it reminds me where I came from. People still call me poor. Some still laugh when I walk by in my old slippers. But I don't mind. 'Cause I know who I am. I'm not a loser. I'm a silent winner. What country are you watching from? Let me know your thoughts about this story.